Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Steve, for that introduction. And a special thanks to the 42% who actually applauded. I'm really excited to be here tonight with the only group of Americans with a lower approval rating than I have. That's hard to say after what we just saw. This is the first time the President attended this dinner in 6 years. It's understandable.
30 seconds until minions
We had a horrible
spawn.
plague, followed by 2 years of COVID. Just imagine if my predecessor came to this dinner this year. Now that would really have been a real coup if that occurred.
Minions have spawned.
A little tough, huh? But I'm honored to be here at such an event with so much history. It's already referenced. The very first president to attend the White House Correspondents' Dinner was Calvin Coolidge in 1924. I'd just been elected to the United States Senate. I remember telling him, Cal, just be yourself. Get up there, speak from the heart. You're going to be great, kid. You're going to do it well.
Where am I needed?
Of course, Jill is with me tonight. Jilly, how are you, kid? I think she's doing an incredible job as First Lady. The First Lady to continue working full-time as she does as a professor. She doesn't pay much attention to the polls. Though she did say the other day, instead of introducing myself as Jill Biden's husband, maybe I should introduce myself as her roommate. I've attended this dinner many times. This is my first time as president. The organizers had it hard, made it pretty hard for me. Although the good news is, if all goes well, I have a real shot at replacing James Corden. It was great having him over to the White House the other day, just as he announced he's leaving the show. Great performer, going out on top after 8 years in the job. Sounds just about right to me. And it's tough to follow pros like James and Billy Eichner. Billy, where are you again? Where is he? Well, Billy, you're famous for your interviewing skills. Billy, you should know what you're doing, pal. You know it well.
This is my path.
And I think you should hope Meets the Press. Maybe you'll start to watch it again. I've never had to open. I'll never be invited to Meet the Press again. Anyway, never have to open before Trevor Noah. Trevor's great. When I was elected, he did a show and he called me America's New Dad. Let me tell you something, pal. I'm flattered anybody would call me a new anything. You're my guy. And folks, it's been a tough few years for the country. There's one reason why it's great to be here again. Everyone at the White House is so excited. I told my grandkids and Pete Buttigieg they could stay up late and watch this show tonight. Tonight, we come here to answer a very important question in everybody's mind. Why in the hell are we still doing this? I know there are questions about whether we should gather here tonight because of COVID. Well, we're here to show the country that we're getting through this pandemic. Plus, everyone had to prove they were fully vaccinated and boosted. So if you're at home watching this and you're wondering how to do that, just contact your favorite Fox News reporter. They're all here, vaccinated and boosted, all of them. And look, Fox News, I'm really sorry your preferred candidate lost the last election. To make it up to
Never
you,
waste
I'm
a
happy to give
breath.
my chief of staff to you all so he can tell Sean Hannity what to say every day. In fact, Ron Klain is here at the CBS table, which hired Mick Mulvaney. Mick on CBS, I was stunned. I figured he'd end up on Masked Singer with Rudy. Amazing hire, guys. Really quite amazing. Look, I know this is a tough town. I came to office with an ambitious agenda, and I expected it to face stiff opposition in the Senate. I just hoped it would be from Republicans. But I'm not worried about the midterms. I'm not worried about them. We may end up with more partisan gridlock, but I'm confident we can work it out during my remaining 6 years in the presidency.
By the power of the stars.
And folks, I'm not really here to roast the GOP. That's not my style. Besides, there's nothing I can say about the GOP that Kevin McCarthy hasn't already put on tape. You know, at the same time, a lot of people say the Republican Party is too extreme, too divisive, too controlled by one person. They say it's not your father's Republican Party.
Protect.
Ronald Reagan said, Mr. Gorbachev, tear this wall down. Today's Republicans say, tear down Mickey Mouse's house. And pretty soon they'll be storming Cinderella's castle, you can be sure of it. But Republicans seem to support one fella, some guy named Brandon. He's having a really good year, and I'm kind of happy for him. Let me conclude with a serious word. We live in serious times. We're coming through a devastating pandemic, and we have to stay vigilant. I know Kamala wanted to be here, for example. Thankfully, she's doing well. We're in a time when what we so long taken for granted is facing the greatest of threats. Oversees the liberal world order that laid the foundation for global peace, stability, and prosperity since World War II is genuinely, seriously under assault.
The whole world
Poison is running through our democracy.
Turret plating will soon
All
fall.
this taking place with disinformation massively on the rise. For the truth is buried by lies, and the lies live on the truth. What's clear, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, that you, the free press, matter more than you ever did in the last century. I really mean it. I've always believed that good journalism holds up a mirror to ourselves to reflect on the good, the bad, and the true. Tonight, I want to congratulate the awardees and the scholarship winners who carry on that sacred tradition. We've all seen the courage of the Ukrainian people because of the courage of American reporters in this room and your colleagues across the world who are on the ground taking their lives in their own hands. And although it's not Ukraine, it's Russia, Mom, I'd like to meet you and Dad to talk about your son. We just saw a heartbreaking video. 9 have been killed, reported in Kyiv. Struck by kamikaze drone strike after a shopping mall attack. Shot in the neck while documenting Ukrainian fleeing. Killed with Russian missiles hitting a television tower in a residential neighborhood. One journalist from Radio Liberty just killed days ago. So many of you telling the stories and taking the photos and recording the videos of what's happening there. The unvarnished truth showing the destruction and the devastation and, yes, the war crimes. Tonight, we also honor the legacy of 2 historic reporters, and that is Alice Dunnigan and Ethel Payne. I'm glad you saw that tonight. I didn't know you were doing that. These are the first black women to be White House reporters who shattered conventions to cover segregated nations. We honor journalists killed, missing, imprisoned, detained, and tortured, covering war, exposing corruption, and holding leaders accountable. We honor members of the press, both national and local, covering the once-in-a-century pandemic when we lost 1 million
I heed
Americans.
their call.
A generation reckoning on race, an existential threat, climate change. The free press is not the enemy to people. Far from it. At your best, you're guardians of the truth.
An ally has
President
been
Kennedy
slain.
once said, and I quote, "Without debate, without criticism, no administration, no country can succeed, and no republic can survive." The First Amendment grants a free press
Your
extraordinary
turret has
protection.
been destroyed.
But with it comes, as many of you know, a very heavy obligation. To seek the truth as best you can.
An
Not to
enemy is
inflame or entertain,
unstoppable.
but to illuminate and educate.
Enemy
No, it's
double
tough.
kill.
It's not being said. The industry is changing significantly. There's incredible pressure on you all to deliver heat instead of shed light because the technology is changing so much. The system is changing.
Your turret has been destroyed.
No truth.
Your turret has been destroyed.
American democracy is not a reality show. It's not a reality show.
Turret has been destroyed. An enemy has been slain.
It's reality itself.
I lend my
The
aid.
reality is that we are a great country.
Double
Our
kill.
future is bright. It's not guaranteed because democracy is never guaranteed. It has to be earned. It has to be defended. It has to be protected. As you've heard me
Where
say
am
many
I
times, there's not a damn thing this country can do when we stand united and do it together. And I know we can do anything we want to do. That's right. I've been around a long time, as has been pointed out many times tonight.
They will go and
But I give you my word as a Biden, I've never been more optimistic about America than I am today. I really mean it. At times of enormous change, it presents enormous opportunities. For despite all the crises, all the partisanship, all the shouting and showmanship, I really know this and you know it too.
the whole
We are a
world
great
in
nation
balance.
because we're based on the truth. Here in
Enemy is
America,
gone.
good journalism, good satire about our leaders, about our society, is quintessentially an American thing. It demonstrates the power of our example. And I honest to God believe it reveals our soul of our nation. And that's what I like to do. To the journalists, to the family, to the people, the elected representatives, to the United States of America.
You have been slain.
By the way, Madeleine Albright was right. We are the indispensable nation. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to turn this over to Trevor now. Strap myself into my seat. And Trevor, the really good news is now you get to roast the President of the United States. And unlike in Moscow, you won't go to jail. Podium is yours.
Every
Madeleine was a big part of the reason NATO was still strong and galvanized
for life.
as it is today. For her name is still synonymous with America as a force for good in the world.
She had a full, hopeful life because she knew what she needed. She knew what she needed. She knew what she did. And she wanted other people to feel the same way and then to talk about it instead of kill each other. The advance of freedom is either inevitable or permanent. And that in politics, where the lure of power is strong, the temptation to abuse it is often irresistible.
When dictators drag their feet or ambassadors filibustered, Madeleine never hesitated to speak up. And just in case they didn't get the message, she would put on a snail pin to signal her impatience. so the angels better be wearing their best pins and putting on their dancing shoes. Because if, as Madeline believed, there's a special place in hell for women who don't support other women, they haven't seen anyone like her yet.
Mom's example meant much to me and my sisters. She said that if we, or any other young women, wanted to compete successfully with men, we had to make sure our ideas were heard. And that meant being willing to interrupt. Mom took a particular interest whenever I let her know that I was seeking medical fields or working to help girls get a better chance for an education. Often her voice would grow a bit deeper,
Your turret has been
conversation slower, and I could tell that she was reminded of being an 11-year-old immigrant girl who survived the Blitz, moved around repeatedly, left her homeland, and arrived in the United States in 1948 with her sister, brother, and parents, seeking refuge and wanting a better and safer future. Dying was never on Mom's schedule. A hole has opened in our hearts that we lack the power to close. But the memory of her love and the resilience of her example will remain with us and with many of you until the end of our days. For that, Mom, and for so much more, thank you. President Biden, President Obama, Mrs. Obama, President Clinton, Secretary Clinton, Speaker Pelosi, Leader McConnell, Mayor Bowser, Governor Hogan, Secretaries Blinken, Kerry, Rice, leaders and friends from abroad, members of Congress and the diplomatic corps, Bishop Buddy,
has been slain.
all those who are here and all those watching from afar. We speak for our entire family in thanking you for joining in this ceremony of celebration and remembrance. Most of you knew Madeleine Albright as a colleague in government or business, a teacher, or a champion of democracy and human rights.
This is my path.
To the world, these were the many hats she wore. But to our family, she also wore others. That of devoted sister, aunt, Grandma Maddie, and for the three of us, the best mom ever. Of course, even great moms have quirks. When we were little, my sisters and I often awoke to the odd maternal cry of "Up and Atom," said the molecule. Usually, Mom had risen hours earlier to work on her PhD dissertation, fix our breakfasts, and organize our backpacks. When we were at summer camp, she constantly sent us notes about whatever was on her mind. The state of the garden, plumbing issues, or whether we thought it would be okay for her to take a job on Capitol Hill. Her handwriting was distinctive and indecipherable. Her M's all looked like W's, and so the signature on our library cards identified our mother as Wadeline Albright. Now, some people, in the lingo of our Czech grandmother, like to play it by the ears. Not Mom. She loved schedules and knowing the order of her day. She had boundless energy and was always planning for what came next. She described herself as an optimist who worries a lot, and we can all attest to her worries. She was incredibly protective. But no matter how much she took on, no matter how much of the world was on her plate, we always knew that when we needed her, she would take our calls, say, "Here I am," and come quick.
Your turret has been destroyed.
Of course, we worried about her too, especially after she became UN ambassador and militants cursed and threw rocks at her in the Balkans. The resulting t-shirt, "I got stoned with Madeleine Albright,"
An ally
made
has
us
been
smile,
slain.
but the reality did not.
Unstoppable.
And from then on, we insisted that she tell us in advance where she was going, who she'd be with, or otherwise we declared, "You'll be grounded." As we got older, Mom never tried to steer us in one direction or another. She just urged us to forge ahead, to be whatever we wanted to be. For my sisters, that meant working globally and locally to help children and communities thrive. For me, that meant being a public defender and family lawyer.
Has been destroyed.
One night, when I was with a client at the Montgomery County Jail and had to call my mother to cancel our dinner date, she thought I was in jail and almost had a heart attack. After I became a judge, she drove to Rockville to, quote, "watch me in action." Effective courts, she said, were essential to a strong democracy.
Your turret has been destroyed.
Mom's example meant much to me and my sisters. She said that if we, or any other young women, wanted to compete successfully with men, we had to make sure our ideas were heard. And that meant being willing to interrupt. Yes, interrupt. But when you do, make sure you have your thoughts in order and your facts straight. This is a lesson that Mom imparted not only to us, but to generations of students at her beloved Georgetown. During a teaching career that spanned almost 40 years, she never lost her enthusiasm. Often when I asked her what she'd be doing over the weekend, she responded, "Getting ready for Monday's class." When I replied, "But don't you already know everything you need to know?" she said, "There's always more to learn." Mom was devoted to her students, and particularly looked forward to the now famous role play that showed students the realities of decision-making. She taught through to the end of this past year when her health was already starting to fail. Going to the hospital, she took with her a large binder of student papers. I can still see her propped up in bed, reading and grading. We often get asked, what kind of mother was she?